So one of the things that I really enjoyed last year was Gods and Gatekeepers, and one of the big things that I feel like the heart of Red Bull want to solve was to highlight players that weren't just the gods, and to highlight, the top 30 and top 40 players, and even local community heroes. So we got to see Cal show up at that tournament. We got to see more than just the top 8 in Smash, but also the top 40 to 50 level players make an impact where their matches actually matter towards the end outcome. And why this is really important is that when we look at Smash and we want to expand the viability of becoming a pro Smasher, it becomes really difficult to highlight players that aren't routinely in the top 6, mainly because when we look at tennis and we look at Smash, like the skill gap is so large that you're really highlighting the same 4 to 5 people over and over again. And when you see that in tennis, you also see similar things where I'm willing to bet that most casual tennis watchers or just tennis fans are only able to really name like 4 to 5 tennis players that are playing right now. And I'm sure, if you're a more hardcore tennis fan, like you'll be able to recite a lot more information, but just for those people that are kind of just like only watching the biggest Grand Slam like tournaments, like they're probably only able to name a handful of players. Same thing with Smash, and the issue that comes up here is that if we want to expand and make this an opportunity just for, like, let's say the top 20 to 25 players, and we want them to be profitable in terms of esports teams and sponsors, we need to figure out formats and different ways that we can make it so that they get more screen time and that they can have a meaningful impact to tournament results. Now, unfortunately with Smash, doubles doesn't really hit it off that very well. And when we look at other esports, they typically are team games. So League of Legends has 5 players, Dota has 5 players, Counter-Strike has 5 players, Overwatch has 6 players. And so this makes it way easier to make it so that a lot more players can have a living income with just the number of players that need to fill roles and slots on a team. Now, realistically speaking, yeah, some people will point out and say, well, Smash is not a tier 1 esports, not as big as those other esports, but that doesn't still really deter us from trying to figure out creative ways where we can highlight more than the same 6 players over and over again to people who are not in Smash. And so it's going to be interesting. I think what we need to do as a community is figure out formats that also just highlight more players and more frequently. And so that's why ultimately I really love the Gods and Gatekeepers format, because you saw a total of, I believe, 32 players in that crew battle. And we also saw 16 additional players enter the final Forsaken bracket. So it highlighted a lot more players, and a lot more players got a lot more screen time. So it'd be interesting to see. I don't really have the best ideas in terms of like how we can highlight more players. I know regional crews has been really amazing, but if we're really looking down the road and we had this like pipe dream like scenario, it'd be really cool to have like similar to what Overwatch does with their regions and their teams, like have like players locked within lineups within particular regions. So you'd have like a SoCal region, you'd have like a Texas region, or a New York tri-state region, and you have like 5 to 10 players represent each other, and you can have like a regular season type of role, and you can have growth come from that, and you can have a lot more players signed and a lot more players making meaningful impact in bracket. Now, of course, this is just a totally tangential idea. Maybe Smash goes into the role of tennis, where you really just see 4 to 5 to 6 people make it in terms of really having lucrative careers, and everyone else kind of doesn't, or they're just kind of scraping by. But it'd be really cool if at the end of the day that we were able to get a lot more players to be able to play a lot more comfortably and to have competitive salaries. But the only way we can do that is to have formats that highlight more players, and not just necessarily just the people who win events or people who finish like top 4 or top 5 at the biggest events. So if you guys have ideas on what formats would be really cool that can highlight more players, you guys should just leave a comment. It's really interesting to see what ideas we could come up with, and maybe this is an idea for a future tournament.